You're listening to Design Between the Lines, the only design and home furnishings podcast where we talk with the movers and shakers, industry innovators, and lifetime legends of the home furnishings industry. It's here that I get a chance to sit and chat with the influencers shaping the industry into what it is today. Known for her consumer-oriented design, home furnishings veteran Aimee Kurzner has become a significant force in the industry today. A graduate of Virginia Commonwealth University and Savannah College of Art and Design, she has studied both interior design and furniture design. Aimee is currently the director of furniture at Currey Company, at which her work has been featured in several prominent publications such as Elle Decor, Better Homes and Garden, Home Accents Today, Gray Magazine, and Southern Home. She has also been the recipient of several Pinnacle and 8X awards and serves on the board of directors of the American Society of Furniture Designers. Aimee joined us at the High Point Theater to discuss her role at Currey Company and share valuable insights for aspiring designers. Aimee, it's great to have you here today.
Thank you, John.
Thank you for being here. Congratulations on Currey Company winning a Pinnacle Award at last night's Pinnacle Awards ceremony, or now we call it the Gala. And it's becoming a lot of fun every year, isn't it?
It's a great amount of fun, yes.
I'd like to ask you, I want to take you way back kind of to the beginning of where you were heading towards this industry. I understand you did a little woodworking in your younger years.
Yes.
Can you kind of bring me up to speed on how you got involved in that? And I understand there was you did have some involvement in sports and coaching. Could you kind of fill me in?
Sure. I think early on I knew I wanted to do something creative. I did my last 2 years in high school at a visual performing arts school, focusing on art.
And where was that?
That was in Sarasota, Florida, at Booker High School. And in that program, you actually take AP art classes to get credit for college. And there, at that time, it's photographing your work, making slides, submitting slide decks to the universities as well as to the AP organization for credit. And through that's when they brought in design schools to our classes and said, this is what is design school versus a university. And as soon as I saw that, I said, that is what I'm doing. I'm not university. And then I wanted to do architecture or interior design. And so I went to VCU first and thought it would be a good mix of a little university as well as a very well-recognized design school. And I did that, got into their interior design program because they do an entry. You have to submit after freshman year, and you either get in or you don't.
Okay. And
through the art history classes, I realized that I was more interested in the furniture and the items that were in there, in the images. And I was very hands-on that I was like, I need to do furniture design. And I looked it up, looked at schools, and saw Savannah College of Art and Design, drove down there myself, took a tour, and said, this is what I'm doing, and switched schools.
Wow.
Savannah was great. It's a great school. The education there was phenomenal. It's very detail oriented. And so I finished my major in furniture design and continued my minor in interior design.
Who were your teachers at that time when you were in the furniture design
So I did
program?
have George Perez.
George is a
I
great
had
person.
Sheila. I had Richard Prisco, who's now at App State. And there was a few others. John Pearson. And that was, as I've told some people, I've told some alumni recently, I said, I'm sure the education has changed. And a student said, well, how so? And I said, well, let's just say the first iPhone came out when I graduated school. So the processes and the way you do things is so different. You're still taking true photographs with a digital camera and doing it that way versus
when you said
otherwise.
the word slide deck,
Yes.
I went, okay. It goes back to the years when I'm talking about computers for my generation, and we had to take stacks of perforated cards down to this giant building, which was the only computer on campus. Yeah, so that's changed for both of us a lot. Me more than you, but let me ask you, you did have some woodworking experience. You did some of that. So you got kind of hands-on familiarity with finishes and textures and woods. And How did you come by
So,
that?
At SCAD, every item that you designed, you had to build. So through that, of course, I got the basics
Right.
of building, and I enjoyed it. I've always been hands-on. I used to make little birdhouses with my dad's tools in the garage and things like that. And out of school, I ended up moving to San Diego on a whim and looked at furniture makers, etc., and submitted my resume. And I ended up working at a custom woodworking shop out there for about 4 years.
Wow.
Extremely small business, 2 owners and myself. And everything from moving 4-foot by 8-foot sheets of plywood with the owner, sanding a slab tabletop for 8 hours a day.
Wow. That's very hands-on
Yes,
experience.
yes.
It is. Well, in doing that, and listening to you, you worked hard. You put your work ethic together with a lot of things that mainly are your talent alone. How did you have mentors along the way that you consider mentors? I mean, you mentioned some teachers earlier at SCAD.
Yeah. Definitely the teachers at school were great mentors. They lead the way. They kind of push you in directions where they see your strengths are, which is great. I think along the way, the gentleman that I worked for in San Diego, definitely a mentor. Taught me a lot about the business and how he's doing it. And, where do you buy cabinet parts? Where do you buy these doors? The raw wood, picking out doors, bringing them in, then, customizing finishes for clients. He's definitely one of my great mentors. And I met another gentleman out there who ended up working at our wood shop. Also, he was a woodworker himself, hobbyist, if you will, and he was a very strong mentor for me as well.
Well, how did you get from San Diego to Currey Company? Where was the transitions in between there? Were there other circuitous routes that you traveled?
I say you have to be assertive.
Yeah.
And you have to know that each job that you take is a stepping stone. And I knew that I had learned so much doing the woodworking, but I knew I wanted to do more. I wanted to really design product. And I moved to Atlanta, and I had met Currey Company then, 7 years ago, with Cecil Adams, and I had done some freelance work for them, but they weren't ready to get that ball rolling for their furniture program quite yet. And so I did cold calls. I did research in the industry of what are furniture companies, who are manufacturers, and I just started sending my resume everywhere. And I got a call back from a mass retail manufacturer, and I worked for them for about 4 years. And that was a whole different stepping stone and learning experience, designing for Target, Walmart, Costco, Sam's Club.
The big boxes.
Yeah, the big boxes.
So one item, 13,000 deep. Right?
Yeah. Sometimes 400,000 deep.
Oh my gosh! Well, that's quite a few birdhouses, if I have to say.
Yeah, a lot of birdhouses.
Oh my gosh!
But with them, I would say it was really about problem solving. How do you create a product that is going to fit what the brand needs at the price point, with the finishes, on trend, all these things? It's a lot of that.
Those meetings had to be interesting. In my memory, I remember 1 or 2 meetings with a merchant from a big box store who said, "How much would this table be with 3 legs?" Or, "Do we really need drawer pulls?"
Yeah.
And I'm sure you had crazy questions like that going, "Yeah, we probably do need a drawer pull."
Yes. Yes, you need a drawer pull.
They're just looking for that extra penny or 15 or 5 cents even. But
Yes.
as you said, at 400,000 items, they want a good price.
Yes. It's all about price. And it's also about features. They saw that the consumer needed features. They wanted it to hold the remote control in this section, have a pull out for your drink, or have an iPod hookup and hold a Guitar Hero and do all these functions that for me I understood, but I was like, where's the beauty of the piece? What about that?
Well, and what a change from where you were in custom wood manufacturing to that. Boy, that's a big throw from one end of the
Huge.
spectrum to the other. So you're involved in that. You're working in that for several years. So then what happened that connected the dots for you with Currey Company?
It's networking. I stayed in touch with Cecil. Always did. Came into the showroom at Market and would always say hi. And when I realized that I wanted to take that next step, I called him up and said, Cecil, I'm looking for a change. And he said, we are too. Let's get that ball rolling. And
Wow.
made that transition over to Currey Company, and I couldn't be happier. I've been with them for 3 years, and it's a company that's family owned, but it's all about distinctive product and creating product with risk, and they're not afraid to take risks. So they allow you to use materials that other companies might say no.
So material experimentation, which kind of goes up your alley with all the things you did in woods and hands-on work. This was not a stretch for you. You kind of knew and you wanted to explore these new materials, right?
Yes.
What was the craziest thing you tried to work with in let's say, the area of new materials that you were weeding through there?
I mean, not anything crazy, but just kind of, we have a new cork piece right now that's exciting. You see cork flooring is on trend, cork wallpaper, and I was like, let's put this on some furniture, and then resourcing that material and making sure that it looks good on the silhouette or the form that you're putting it on.
Is that multiple colors?
It is not. It's a natural color.
So you have
cork.
to deal with that. Is there a lot of, I'm going to say a word that's used quite often in our business, and I guess this is for young people in it too. It's not about the cost of the material. It's about the cost of the material that you waste getting to the final product, because that's cost you're not going to get back again. In dealing with cork, is that a problem? Wastage when you're trying to get a look that you want for a single piece or pieces?
We are using a cork veneer.
Oh, good. Okay.
So it's on a roll, basically. So there's not a lot of wastage.
Great. Well, then there you go. But I think you understand where I was going from, because there's a lot of that in other categories.
Yes.
And in some cases, depending on the size of pieces you're working with in wood, same thing. Yeah. You had a lot of woodworking experience. How does that relate to what you're doing now? How do you bring that into the foray?
So when you're hands-on, it's a little trial and error, and you learn from your mistakes, and then you'll learn what actually works. And then also you learn about hardware and mechanics and what the tolerances of something might be, whether it is a material or a piece of hardware. And now I'm utilizing that to make sure that it works. It's ergonomically functional for the end user.
Not too long ago, congratulations about winning Pinnacles for
Thank
Currey
you.
Company. You won one on a cabinet called, is it called Zen or?
Zen, yes.
Yeah. What was tell me a little bit about, in this way, maybe it'll explain your process, coming up with this idea, executing the idea, getting it out on the floor, launching it, and having it be so well accepted. Take me through that process a little.
Well, so we were doing the trend modern chinoiserie. And the way I tend to start my process, if we have a specific style or trend story that we're trying to match, I then go and do my own research on what that looks like in the market. And whether it's 20 years ago, was that something going on back then? And then what are people doing now? I like to see what other people are doing, so that you know that you're on trend, but also that you're making sure that you're original. That's the hardest part about being a designer, is being original. So with that particular item, I did my own trend study, picked elements of motifs or designs that I wanted to utilize, and then start sketching. I am pretty quick going from Sketch into SolidWorks is the program that I use. I like to see it 3D. That's where I really get the scale and proportion and make sure it's all the way I want it. And then for that piece in particular, when we're going more modern chinoiserie, I'm looking at the color stories. And so the exterior of that cabinet is white, and then the interior is a lava red, is what we call it. So
it's remarkable,
similar to a Chinese
doors.
red.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Thank you.
So, was this an internationally sourced product? May I ask that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
How difficult? And I know you worked in the shop and you actually saw the consumer and you're directly working with them. And now here you are, 12 or 14,000 miles away. You don't just step out the back door and say, we're going to cut it this way. You have to go first, maybe explain it in another language, certainly visually explain. Tell me a little bit about what that added to the process, having to deal with making it in another country, explaining it to a culture that may not understand where you're kind of going.
I feel very strongly in overseas manufacturing. There are some extremely talented individuals and craftsmen overseas. And when you work with the right team members, they can help you create your vision. And for that particular product, we were with a factory that their capabilities are so strong and so high, and they do mix material. And so knowing their capabilities and bringing the right product to them is what I always try to do. And there wasn't really a stretch on that. I think we work together in tandem, and they have insight and knowledge to share, and so do I. And so you just work off of each other.
So once you do they get the product to a certain point and then you want to go over and physically see it before it gets shipped to a market to show?
Yeah.
That trip, a couple of weeks long or how? Okay. I figured.
Yeah, so our process, specifically at Currey Company, we do concept development, of course, and then shop drawing phase, and then we delegate and move product. We send those shop drawings and concept drawings to the corresponding factories based on the product that's going to be designed. And then samples are made, and then our design team travels overseas to check samples on the ground before anything is shipped back to Atlanta, to our warehouse. So when we're on the ground there, that's our opportunity to fine tune it, make any little changes that we need to. Hopefully it's exactly what we want, or sometimes you realize that just isn't going to work.
We're nothing in this industry if not a little trial and error here and there, right?
Yes, definitely.
And maybe you learn better from the errors than you do from the successes. In some cases, you always build your history on that, right? So tell me, I heard from a little bird somewhere that you write extremely good design notes.
Oh, design notes.
Yeah, another notes on your designs, and maybe even who writes the information about the pieces when you create something like the Zen cabinet or other new things like the cork piece and other things. I'm sure in working with it, you have all of that knowledge in your head. Do you?
Yeah. So I always go through and write all the benefits and features of the item, and then our marketing team goes through and does the romance copy for us.
Now, are you, when you're, I take it you've got a sales force at Currey Company.
Yes.
Do you, and you heard the cats, I'm sure, just prior to market to teach them. Who does the presentation work when you're presenting these products to your sales force prior to the market rolling open?
So we do our sales meeting. We had our sales meeting on Wednesday, actually, before market.
Okay.
And the design team is there. And the creative director, and we do 3 to 4 walkthroughs with our sales reps, breaking them out into teams.
Smaller groups. Then.
Smaller groups. This market we introduced over 230 new items.
My gosh.
So,
wow.
Walking them through.
So how long is a meeting like that? I mean, how long do you try to make it? Because I'm sure you understand sales reps like any other human being, have an attention span.
Yes.
And so how long does something like that
our
meeting go?
walkthroughs probably take an average of an hour and a half to go through our showroom. And then each of us designers kind of, as we go through the new products, looking up and looking down for lighting and the furniture, we we explain the features and the benefits of each piece, and just kind of go piece by piece. And I just make it a point now to really open and close the doors and really explain why this piece is as special as it is in terms of the features as well as the materials and the look of it.
I'm going to take it back to the Zen cabinet. Did you have any difficulties? And frankly, I guess every new product must have a little something to work out. Were there any little things like that with the Zen cabinet that you had to kind of work through to solve a problem?
Yeah. So the hardware on that piece is all custom. It's steel work.
Wow.
In the Chinese motif of scroll work for the whole doors. And when we did it, the standoffs to attach that hardware, there's about 10 to 12 standoffs and connection points. And when we first saw the sample, you open the door and it looks like bullet holes on the doors. I was like, we need to fix that. That's not okay. And we worked with the team on the ground on how to fix that.
Yeah.
And we're sitting there sketching together on what are the ways that we could do this and what's efficient for the factory to do that. And what we came up with was a false panel. So in manufacturing, the door is made, the hardware is put on. On the bottom edge of the door, there's actually 2 little screws, and you take the screws out, of course, you slide the piece out, and then the false panel in the back drops down or drops back in when you're putting it together, so that when you open the door, it's clean. You don't see any hardware at all.
That's a great solution. And I'm guessing with everything that you're creating, there's every once in a while there's a challenge like that.
Always.
And that's part of being on the ground, and how important that is to be there and make the change, because who wants a surprise?
Yeah.
A day before market when you open the box.
No one wants a surprise like that.
No, they don't. Tell me a little bit about the design direction that you see the industry going in right now. I mean, where we've been and where we're going to, say, in the last couple of years.
There's a lot of statement pieces out there. It's all about a little bit of wow factor, which I love. But you're seeing people get a little bit more creative and more statement oriented about, let's say, one piece, if it's in the entryway, or that maybe it's the server in the dining room, but it's a standalone piece. It doesn't match a collection anymore. And people are utilizing all of those little pieces and creating their own look.
And so they're pushing the envelope in some ways. Do you think after coming out of the recession now, furniture industry is always the last to know. Do you see a little less a sea of brown now than there used to be when we were right in the middle of it? Yeah.
Yes. There's gray is still in. It is still in. And I love gray.
Yeah.
And at Currey, we are not afraid of color. And I like that. The pop of color, the pop of surprise, or something unexpected, or exaggerated hardware. That's kind of how I design to create it unique and to be ours. We have a new cabinet this market, and the doors are a figured sycamore with an aniline dye that is navy. We took a long time to create that finish. And I did it. I was like, I don't know who's going to want all this blue, but I think it's really beautiful. And it's one of our best-selling pieces right now.
Wow.
And it's surprising what people will want. And it is. It's a statement piece. And you're either going to want the blue or you're not.
Is this kind of a function, too? Well, let me ask you this, because I hear about millennials. I hear that term constantly now, and there's a lot of them. So what I hear is they love a good, authentic story about a piece. So when you're thinking and talking to the marketing people and your team, are you thinking about the story as you're developing what you're going to say about this piece when you're standing in front of your sales force, and also possibly the retailers buying the product, and then what you're going to impart to them to tell the consumer coming in the door or online? Do you have that in your mind when you're just beginning conceptualizing?
Conceptualizing, probably not. I let it take its process because every piece has a little bit of a different process. And then the inspiration piece is what I always hold on to. And sometimes it's, maybe it's a small shape or a motif that I saw, or maybe it's actually a trip, like a travel trip. And then each piece should have a story. Some pieces don't, to be quite honest.
I understand.
They just happen.
Yeah.
But it's always great when the piece has a story to tell and be able to share with our sales force, because that helps them sell the item.
Yeah.
This piece was inspired by a trip to Paris, and she saw this piece and made sure that it was exactly similar to the original construction, and et cetera, et cetera.
I'm supposing right now, I'm thinking about trip to Paris. I'm thinking there's a list of other places you'd like to be inspired by.
Yes.
Is there? I'm sure there's a list. Where else would you like to go? What? And that's my way of asking. So what's new for Aimee? What's coming your way? What have you been doing lately besides working hard at market right now?
Yeah,
we're all
working
coming
hard
down.
at market. I've been traveling a lot. I was just overseas checking product, and then doing a little West Coast tour with our sales rep force, spreading the word about furniture really at Currey Company, because we are a very well-established lighting brand and a home furnishings company in total. And sharing what we've been doing the past 2 years, changing the product line in the furniture assortment, bringing in over 160 new SKUs for the line, and kind of rotating that out, because most companies do. You have a SKU cap of...
That was what I was hoping you would bring out, because there's something that a design student or a young designer may not have ever heard that term before. Please explain what you mean when you say SKU cap.
So, a company has to purchase the product. And then inventory the product and sell the product. And you have to make sure that you're not having empty or product sitting on the shelves that isn't selling. And the SKU cap in the growth of a company, you don't want to just keep adding SKUs, because that inventory control is going to be outrageous. And let alone the purchasing of the product. Everything is money. So at Currey Company, we've got about 1,300 SKUs in total, and we on average probably bring in close to 500 new products a year, about 250 or 200
That's
per
a real
market.
shuffle.
And to bring in new product, you've got to get rid of the old and or stuff that isn't selling, and that is your opportunity to look at your assortment and figure out what's selling, what's not, what can we live without, because we want to bring in these amazing new things.
For those uninitiated to inventory terms, SKU stands for stock keeping unit, and we use the term, we just say what it looks like. We say SKU.
Yeah.
So when we use that term, it's stock keeping unit. It's a unit of inventory. So just there you go, a new term for you. Advice to students, young people and anyone thinking about going into this field of design, furniture and home furnishings design, and that's everything from the ceiling on down to the floor. Do you have something you'd like to impart to these young people that they need to be aware of, or that you'd like them to think about in terms of their career going forward?
It's a great industry. I love it. I wouldn't choose to be doing anything else. And I'm very fortunate to be in this industry. Not everyone makes it, and you got to take each turn as it comes. And sometimes you think you want to do something and you realize, well, maybe not. But for students, it's all about hard work and learning, and you're never done learning. When you're done being a student, you're still learning. Your first job, your second job, your third job, fourth, fifth, etc. And you should always be willing to learn and absorb anything and everything that you can from younger generations and older generations. And it's a lot of hard work. It's things don't come easy necessarily. And hard work does pay off eventually.
You mentioned in your career you did some cold calling. You
Yeah.
just went out there and you networked and you got your name out and you told people you were interested. And I think that's part of no one's ever just going to walk up to you and a magic wand's going to hit you on the forehead and you are instantly in the corner office with a view of the flagpole.
Absolutely not.
Well, I understand this market too. You've been a mentor to some students, especially SCAD students who I know are running around right now in High Point. How was it talking to them this time? Do you find students today are different than the ones you've talked to a couple of years ago? Are they becoming more, not jaded, but more, and not cynical, but more aware of how the world is in the real world of getting a job and working?
It's different. It's definitely different. The advice that I've given is really that it's hard work and that first job is probably never going to be your dream job. And you want to be happy and content. And the millennials, what do you have every Friday off? Is it, it's all about the feel of the office and is this a fun environment? Yeah, that's very important. But at the end of the day, it's hard work and learning each time you go to work and each job that you take. And that first job, you might be, if it's in a wood shop, you might be cleaning that dust collector and sanding a tabletop for 8 hours that day. But you're still learning, and you're taking little bits and pieces along the way. Really, that's what I keep trying to tell some students is when you break in to this industry, you're going to hit some roadblocks, and you're going to, not hit rock bottom. I hope not.
Just a little
just
detour
a little
in the road.
detour and a dip, but those are the things that really make you stronger in the end.
On that note, a perfect note to end on. I want to thank you so much for your time
Thank you.
here today, and we wish you lots of many more Pinnacle Awards to come and lots of success.
Thank you, John. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Aimee. Design Between the Lines is produced by Element Studio with the American Society of Furniture Designers. We're recorded in High Point, North Carolina. To find videos of these podcasts, be sure to subscribe to the American Society of Furniture Designers YouTube channel. To learn more about ASFD, visit asfd.com. And don't forget to subscribe to hear more industry stories of design between the lines.